Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to. Today we're doing it in the top of the tree, AMX 50B, the French wonder tank. Now, the why, the where, the how fors that I'm going to tier 10 first is basically because everyone loves shiny stuff and everyone wants to have something to hope for, something to aspire to. And this is certainly what you can aspire to in the French line. This is a hell of an interesting tank. It's a tank that does a whole lot for me in terms of gameplay and enjoyment. And it's a tank that has both an enormously high ceiling in terms of potential and success, and a tremendously low floor in terms of potential and success. And it's a tank that, if I could make one recommendation straight off the bat, would be that you run it in a platoon. All these French tanks seem to really lend themselves to platoon play. They're tanks that are great when you've got someone to cover for your weaknesses and accentuate your good bits. Like a bit of a marriage, really. You want to have someone who can both handle your idiocy and love you for it, and also help you out in the tough times when you're just an absolute screwball. And you can see here I'm doing that with Swiss Cheezel, who is on the flank in the M60 and was up against it with 3 tanks on him, and we just absolutely pounded butt and hammered them and stopped that flank move in no uncertain terms. Now, before I go any further, this is a patron-sponsored post. Patreon is the reason that I am able to put out a video every day and do the business, and that's all well and good. But if you want to sponsor the channel, click on the link there and do your darndest. Now, there's a few things about this tank that you need to take with a grain of salt. One of them is particularly interesting, is that the powers that be at Wargaming have completely removed any form of turret armor. There is no trace of turret armor on this tank, which is really interesting because, and we're going to get right into this, there is actually quite a lot of armor on your chassis. Your chassis is fantastic. And they've also basically said that the rate of fire is 6.5 rounds a minute, which isn't true. And I'm going to show you that right now. I tested this out. The 120mm SA46, you actually average about 8 rounds a minute in your first minute if you're firing non-stop on the numbers, and then in your second minute you'll do about 7 rounds a minute, just over 7 rounds a minute, and both those add up to significantly more than 6.5 rounds a minute. And here you go, starting the firing at 6 minutes 20 and finishing at 5 minutes 20, and you'll see that I pump out a whopping 8 rounds in that time, just failing on the last round. So 8 rounds is a lot better than 6.5. So that's running double rations and vents. You can't run a gun rammer on this tank, obviously, because it is an auto loader. Now, each one of those rounds does 400 damage, but the real joy on this tank is the mobility. The reason you have absolutely no armor on that turret, that is the T57 Heavy, which is its most notable companion. Right at the back, the IS-7, which is a super quick tank for a tier 10 heavy, is behind it, and the IS-8, which is a very, very fast mobile heavy at tier 9, is really lagging behind. And the Centurion 7-1, which was a tank I thought it would be most similar to, is even further back than that. Now, you do 45 kilometers an hour up this hill quite comfortably, which is bloody impressive, and that's all well and good, but how fast can you go when flat out, which is really important. Well, that number is 50 kilometers an hour. So you can see it's a real trade-off. It's not a heavy's bum. I said the same thing about the AMX 5100. It's a super quick tank with a really good gun, and I don't know what you'd call it, whether you want to characterize it as a heavy or a medium or whatever, but what it is an out-and-out clipping damage machine that goes really quick and can run away quite fast or get to an area quite fast, but really cannot be counted on to hold a line. And that sometimes screws you over with matchmaking, because quite often you're going to be up against these same tanks, and you have what is an incredibly strong lower plate. You can see there's a number plate underneath. I'm running the legendary camo. I love the look of the tank with the legendary camo, by the way. It looks gorgeous, and the number plate is probably the best armored number plate that you've ever seen on a tank. But look at the green on top. Now, that's an E50M looking at the tank, and everything is green up top, and down below there is actually quite a bit of red, and you can bounce shots. It's like an FV4202. This fantastic lower plate, which is great, until they actually shoot at your turret, which is terrible. And so you've got to be really situational to take advantage of that. And you can see here, I'm going to jump out and bounce shots on that lower glacis really easy, the upper glacis rather, really easily. So what's good about the tank then, if the armor sucks, is the mobility, which people carry on that it's not that important, but it's really important on a tank like this because you want to be able to put this gun to bear where it needs to be. And the just nuts out damage that it can do. Four shots, 400 damage on 3 clips on 3 shots will give you a 1200 damage. You can see situations like this, that's amazing because I'm going to go clip 1 shot, clip 2 shots, and clip 3 shots and get bang 2 kills and a solid damage roll, which at tier 10 is fantastic. And I'm going to show you all the good parts here. This is like the shiniest tank ever. When you absolutely have to make something look great, you could make this thing look like Godzilla. As you just go through 3 shots in a clip and destroy stuff time and time again. And I'm going to show you the good parts, then I'm going to show you the bad parts. Now, the traverse speed is a whopping 30 degrees as well, and the turret traverse is 37 degrees, so it's great. And in situations like this, look, there's 700 damage down there, and I'm going to clean up 1 tank, and then I'm going to pop down, and I'm going to clean up the back of this AMX 5120, and that's 2 kills, and that's a complete flank, really decimated, and then the rest of the tanks are going to roll in, and we're going to win the game. And I'm chasing down an Object 140 here, and these are these situational tank moments where you are so overpowered. And look at the speed on the thing. I mean, it is going like the wind. So quick, so mobile, and you've got 10 degrees of gun depression, and that's great. And we're going to track him, and we are just going to pump him, and again, and again, and again, and it just looks amazing. And that's great because the tank, and if you run into a grill with HE, happy days. There's one, just about 500 damage in that one, and then we're going to clear him on the second shot. That's wonderful, isn't it? What about when you get screwed over by matchmaking, when you're the guy that has to hold the line? And you're going to see the common denominator in all this is I'm just not on my own. And it's one of the reasons why the French tanks are brilliant tanks in platoon, or when you are laying in wait in ambush. You can see that 140 there. There's a Leopard PTA and a 140, and I've known they're coming down here, so I'm just waiting to ambush them. And Iron Big Noob's a pretty good bloke. He's on the Asia server. I see him all the time. And he was running around with Otto as well. And just with the new chat, couldn't really say too much to him. And I'm with my platoon mate, and there you can see we just smashes him, and I tap him once, and that's bad boy from Oxo. And if you want to farm damage in spawn, like look at this, that's 3 shots, 424, 416, happy McDays, 441, you know, that's 1300 damage. And in situations like this, where there's 2 tanks on the enemy team, I'm going to go for a complete reload, because you want to do this all the time. Double tap the open ammo slot and you'll get the reload. There's 2 tanks on the enemy team here. There's a 2-shot T110E5 and there's a just about full health VK4502B. And what I'm going to do is use the speed. Now I know the E5's coming the other direction. Look at this thing just bust out. I'm going to leave the 4502B, take one from this fella and just smash him on the way past, and then fill him up for one more. I have 1 left in the kit. Come out, take 1, give 1 back, and that's the game won just there. And then I'm just going to stay there and basically bait him while the STB1 kills him. Looks amazing, but what happens when you are left on your own and you're on a 22-second reload? This is when things get particularly ugly. And this is one of the reasons why this tank struggles in situations where you're up against good players who know what they're doing and who are pushing on you with a decent armor profile. And you are just absolutely in a world of hurt because you can be penned sideways with HE from anyone. You've got 35mm of HE armor on your side. And again, I've just smashed that Object 140, but I'm now on a full reload. And I'm trying to bluff here, pretending like I actually have one in the tank, but they're not buying it. They're just not buying it. And look at that. That really hurt. And then here comes the next one. And I'm turning. I'm going to get one into him. Oh, am I going to get one in? Oh, someone else is coming. 1 shot and boom, bang. Happy days. It's how you're going to die. When you're on your own in this tank, you are wrecked. You're just wrecked. I mean, this grill knows I've fired 3 shots. I took all his hit points. Now he gets to just come and take all mine because there's nothing I can do about it. I try and do the old, no, I've really got one. I've really got one. And he's not buying that. He just doesn't care. He's coming. And this is the issue with these tanks. So if I had one word of advice, it would be to make sure you run this thing in platoon. If you run it in platoon, you'll be a lot better off. Now, I just want to let you know, I run vertical stabilizer, events, and I also run binoculars. And I run the binoculars because if you are on your lonesome, you need to take advantage of distance and make them trade distance for damage, because once they push up on you, you really lose that edge. Now, the DPM numbers are neither here nor there. Like, as I illustrated earlier, you're going to find this tank is great in terms of pumping out damage. You won't struggle in DPM, but because you're such a weak armor profile, you can get massacred if anyone gets to your flank or your rear, or if you get anyone with Hesh or anything like that. They will just go through your turret. Like, Hesh is your worst enemy. 215B183s salivate when they see this. Any tier 10 TD with a big gun is going to be sitting there going, please let me fire high explosive into your turret and absolutely destroy you, because that's what they'll do. And you get in situations like this where if you're a little bit late into the game, or your missus has said, where are you, what are you doing, and you just turned up, then you've really, you get left on your own. Things can be a bit rough. And I've gone to HE there, which was a big error, because the Leopard PTA frontally can still bounce my high explosive rounds, which is fair enough. And now what I'm doing is pushing up and trying to keep the building there between me and the PTA, because I don't want him to get another shot at me. And there is, in fact, another tank with me now, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable out on this flank. And the reason I'm showing this clip, it's a mastery game, but it's nothing special. I mean, you can see that 62A, he's buzzing along there. It really is nothing special, but there's a couple of moments in it which I love. And I think I've been pretty clinical thus far, and I can indulge myself once. One of them is this moment with the M46. You're going to get this with a lot of players. They just simply do not realise that you are legit and have 3 shots in a clip, and they will push up on you, and things like that will happen. They will happen early and often, and they're glorious when they do. Like, a tank goes, yeah, I'm going to have a crack at this, and 5 seconds later he is no longer with us. That's glorious. I'm going to push out here now on this 62A. You can see the AMX 5120 is saying attack. I'm saying affirmative. I'm coming with you. And that's a great call from the 5120, and I say affirmative. Here we go. We're going to go up there, and we're going to smash this T62A, which is all well and good. And then you're going to see the speed of this tank, which is why I really, really love it. I mean, the way it can do this is what makes it for me. And I think that the nearest comparison you're going to find for me is a T57 Heavy. And I think it's just a better tank than the T57 Heavy, because the 57 Heavy doesn't have the armor for it to really make a difference, and it doesn't have this speed. It's not like the 57 Heavy is going to hold a line. Look at me go. I'm going to fang along here, bash that E75, put another one into the IS-7, stop him, and as he pulls round, it stopped his advance, it stopped any momentum they had. It's made the E75 a one-shot, basically combat ineffective, and then I'm just going to go around here, put one into the IS-7 and stop and let everyone else finish him off, because I'm a lazy bugger. And the wife was talking to me. That's the AMX 50B, guys. I think it's a great tier 10 tank. It's really, really interesting. It is an absolute great tank for a platoon. If you pair this up with an IS-7, or a good medium tank, it's got enough pace to keep up with both of them, and in fact leave the IS-7 for dead. And it can also do that glorious thing, whereas if they can hit once, that's quite often enough for you to then just turn around and clip your way through to justice. And you have 250mm of pen on your AP, which is great, and you've got 340mm of pen on your APCR, which is even better, because if you don't mind firing a little bit of Premo, then you don't have to worry about spaced armor, you don't have to worry about hitting tracks and not penetrating. 340mm of APCR is glorious. APCR is the breakfast of champions when it comes to driving a tank at tier 10. Heat is grand and all that, but if you've got spaced armor and everything, you've really got to stop and change your ammo types and worry about that. APCR, you can just pound it. So if you want to run all the promo in the world and just 3-shot people, this is the tank for you. And I think that's an interesting concept too, because the 57 Heavy for me was a very underwhelming tank. It was kind of an attempt at being a little bit of everything for everybody. The AMX 50B is just very direct. It knows exactly what it is. It's a tank that has a great payload of damage to give to you and has absolutely no armor, but it can get there really, really quickly with lots of gun depression, so it doesn't really find many opportunities that it can't take. It's got a very, very great shot ability rating, I'd say, like where you might be on a map where you normally can't get a shot if you don't have 10 degrees of gun depression, and it can fulfill that role. Or if you've got a Russian medium or something like that and you can't actually get the gun down, you're not going to be able to get anything happening. But it's got such good turret traverse, and it's got such great gun depression, and it's got such great penetration, and it's got such great APCR penetration that you are not going to find many situations where you can't get shots. And because of that clip, the nature of the clip, it means that oftentimes, even when people push on you, they will pay a price. Just don't get caught out alone. If you're caught out alone in this tank and you've got 1 or 2 on you and they know what they're doing, and lots of people at tier 10 know that you have 3 shots in your clip, then you're ta-ta. You're really not going to do very well at all. And watch out for the big nasties. Do not push on the big nasties. They will wreck your baggage. I'm Bushka on Blitz. Thanks so much for watching. Hats off, humans. You're wonderful people. Let's keep making this great community that we are making here at the moment. And until next time, stay safe on the